Welcome to Blind Man and the Elephant. These are your hosts, Neeraj and Osho.
This is a podcast where two friends discuss a whole host of ideas that range from across the spectrum, from economics to culture, politics to sport. And we hope to bring our fresh perspective to things that are happening around us.
We live in times where there is an information overload. So this is our attempt to make some sense of the noise.
You can listen to us on all major podcast streaming apps, including Spotify, Apple and Google Podcasts, and Anchor, as well as, of course, YouTube. You can check out all our links in the description along with this episode.
So let's begin today's episode. The journey of a podcast. The beginning.
Happy Diwali, everyone. Hope you had a great Diwali weekend. We had a fun one as well. That's why this has come out so late.
Yeah, apologies. This is literally the first time we've not managed to release on a Sunday, and it's been an interesting weekend though, because we got to spend some quality time with our families, especially in this crazy year. And I hope all of you had a lot of good fun as well. And let us know in your comments as to what you guys did in your Diwali.
Yeah. So this is an episode where we want to talk about what we think about doing a podcast and what exactly podcasts are all about in today's world.
Yeah, and we've basically labeled this episode as the beginning because, as you guys already know, we're just 4 episodes in, and this is literally our first podcasting journey ever. So this is knowledge that we've collected so far, and hopefully someday we'll probably have another episode where we'd probably be a little more knowledgeable about what we're talking about.
Yeah. So let's dive into it and ask the first cliched question. What made you start a podcast, Neeraj?
Man, I'm not even kidding. The amount of times people have asked me this, and literally, like, some of our friends who've been listening in, thank you, friends.
And fans, yeah.
Yeah. I really hope they're fans also. They've always said, like, I've heard all your episodes, it's great, but we still don't know you. We don't know who you are. We don't know why y'all are doing this. And yes, we promise you that if you keep listening, we'll probably get into who we are and, some of that. But we just thought that it's about time to answer that question, as to why we started this. I think both of us might have different answers or the same ones. But for me, Osho, it was just, I think, an outcome of the conversations that we keep having anyway. By that, I mean, whenever we're at a social event or like a gathering or whatever. And no, we like to have fun, right? But post that, it almost always evolves into this circle of people just discussing anything under the sun. And almost always, there have always been some aha moments where I'm just like, damn, I didn't know this. Or damn, I wish I could spread this word far and wide.
Yeah, and even, of course, we talk to a lot of people and have these moments, but I think even when you think about things with yourselves and have conversations with yourself, I think those are also things that you often feel you just lose out in the moment because a fun thought comes to your mind and then you don't know where it went.
Yeah, and I think both of us have thankfully developed some sort of research and reading habits over the years, and not just reading, right? It's consuming all kinds of content, which would be like, video or audio, whatever,
memes,
the works,
everything,
right? The memes as well, right? And both of us, to be very frank, love the attention, okay? And I definitely speak on behalf of Osho as well here. We love the attention. It's also a lot of fun to have some kind of a stage or a platform, which we've created ourselves, but it's there.
Yeah, as in, when you're in school, when you're in college, you have the natural avenues like your annual days or your college fests and stuff like that. But then after you're done with all of that, you can only make your own stage. You can only, put yourself up for display and then hope that somebody thinks that you're worthy enough of listening to.
Yeah, 100%, man. Like, I remember, like, just a very brief segue, but I remember when I moved to Delhi for work, this was when I just sort of had some sort of theater
Yeah.
experience in college, right?
Yeah.
And I kept looking for things, okay, weekend, can I do some theater and stuff? But you know what? With work and stuff, life just bogs you down. And,
Yeah.
like, you gotta create these stages.
Exactly.
So that's where it sort of came to be. And yeah, that's what it is.
And you know, the best thing that I've enjoyed through the course of starting this is that every topic that we pick up, it's something different that we want to bring to our listeners. So we also try to read, we also try to think in directions which we haven't thought about previously. So it sort of helps you break out of your own bubble. It also helps you break out of your own simplistic thought process where you're thinking and listening and saying the same things.
Yeah.
That's one of the biggest reasons why I actually wanted to do it as well.
To me also, it's just a function of us and our friendship also, right? Because we've both lived in different cities for the last what,
7-8 years,
seven
yeah.
8 years now, and where we find ourselves in the same city right now, which is Mumbai. But this is also now become like our go-to thing to sort of make our relationship
Yeah.
more beautiful in a way.
Yeah.
You know? It gives us some meaningful goal to achieve weekly, where it's like, you know, come what may, we got to do this. And through that, I find this is like a great way for us to just remain bonded and know that even if we're distant, we're going to make this happen.
Exactly. And I think it's something which is most enjoyable in the sense that you're doing something with your friend. And podcasts are such things where doing it with somebody you like to have a conversation with and you enjoy spending time with is so important, right?
No, I completely agree. I think just having someone you're comfortable with and having someone who you've had those conversations at all those parties and events that we're talking about with, like, it just helps. Like, you know, it's already like a base to build upon. Like, honestly, it's not very hard often for us to find the right episode. I'm going to say often because sometimes it is, but yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah. We also just wanted to have an avenue where we wanted to speak, but
Yeah.
I'm not averse to it being monetized.
Oh yeah, I think we know. I mean, we've done some basic research, and from what we understand, like, it does take a while for, you know, the traction and all of that to kick in. But yeah, we definitely are doing this for the fun right now. But I mean, to all you future podcasters out there, there's a lot of research on this. This does end up being a good passive income source
Yeah.
in the long run. So yeah, if you guys aren't considering it or on the edge about doing something like this, I think you should just give it a shot. I think this is also a great place for us to talk about what the industry looks like and where the future seems to be, right? Because this is suddenly a thing that we're seeing around us.
Yeah.
We're also doing it ourselves. And what drove us to do that? Like, I think from my angle, for me, like, the biggest thing is, like, it seems like the next frontier in education in a way. It probably won't entirely like replace your traditional school or college education, but I think this is definitely going to be a good supplement to it, because it's a format that's consumed, right? It's consumed on audio or sometimes in video as well, but mostly it's consumed on audio, and it's something that you can just, you know, add on as a, okay, just also listen to this 10-minute topic, and it'll sort of unload a lot of things, make them simpler for kids to understand, or anyone who's trying to educate themselves about anything in the world. What do you think about this?
I don't think education is the right way to think about this, because I think education is a lot about being equipped to be better at your career or to get into a career and stuff like that. I think with podcasts being so informative as they are, I think they, at least from personal experience, they help you become a much more well-rounded person, at least have different perspectives on things. And that's, I think, what really helps. And with careers and education, you're often thinking of it in terms of that one stream you're in or that one industry you're working in. But with podcasts, you hear about something which is completely out of your zone, or something which you haven't really thought about or discussed or haven't had the opportunity to think about within your work. You don't know when that information that you hear on that drive is going to really help you in your work going forward, or help you in your life, or even never help you, just make you feel interested and entertained, but it's still something which really benefits you as a person.
I completely agree. And also, this depends heavily on the podcast you're listening to. But I think audio is just a great format for you to unpack a bunch of ideas in a very crisp manner, especially if it's someone who's a good podcaster, who's sort of done their research, their legwork, and put those ideas forward. It's like a 10-minute podcast can often be equivalent to reading, say, 20-30 articles
Yeah.
about a topic that you really wanted to deep dive into.
Yeah.
And yes, while there will be some nuance and stuff that might be lost, and those who are interested in those detailed readings can then find a good base to start with. But I think, yes, podcasts, as you said, give you that, it gives you a taste of information.
Exactly.
And then it's up to you to take it from there. And I think that's what I love about them.
Yeah, and in fact, there are so many different kinds of podcasts. There's your 10-minute daily news update kind of podcast.
Right.
There's your storytelling podcast, which is very, very popular. And then there are long form podcasts, 2 hours, 3 hours, where somebody's just talking to another person in a completely free flowing discussion. And that's something which has a bunch of small nuggets which you can take away from.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, here, if I were to ask you, Osho, what is our podcast? Like, because we've had a bunch of episodes with different kinds of durations. So what do you think we are? And I've got to give you my perspective as well. But
I think we're trying to figure out which exact... Actually, wait. I think we're not in one bucket particularly. I think we're just in the conversational genre where you're probably going to learn something new. And some episodes of ours can be in the long form. Some episodes of ours can be in the short, crisp format.
yeah, I think just personality wise, we're both very figure it out as we go individuals.
Yeah. I also don't want our podcast to be restricted to any one of these.
Yeah.
Because those bring with it their own compulsions.
Yeah. And like take the episode with Tasneem, right? This is episode 3, The Traveler. Tasneem, it was an interview type podcast. It was something we've not tried before and we've not done it yet again. We will do it when we find another guest. But in that episode, like having this is going to be a 20-minute podcast restriction didn't make sense to either of us.
Yeah.
Simply because there was so much to unpack there. And I think, especially when you're interviewing someone about their whole life and things like that, I think it's very important to have the right context to sort of help people understand the entire story. And this is what I mean, where, a podcast should convey what it wants to in the form that is most appropriate to it.
Exactly.
And to the kind of individuals we are, I think it makes sense that we're figuring it out as we go. And then sort of eventually it'll shape up to be, say, 1 or 2 or multiple things.
Yeah, and we don't want to restrict our options, right?
Absolutely.
And the thing is, how podcasts are consumed is also very different.
Yeah.
And sometimes you'd want to listen to a podcast when you're having your morning coffee, or when you're going on a drive, or when you're doing the dishes. All of these things require probably a different kind of podcast for you to listen to and kill your time.
Yeah, and you know how I use podcasts? Like sometimes when I'm in the shower, right, I tend to zone out so much that having a podcast on in the background just helps me like concentrate and be like, oh, acha, love, it's time. Or another way I use it a lot is right before I'm sleeping, I'll put on a podcast with a 15-minute sleep
So a
timer.
boring one.
No. I won't say a boring one, but it's quite informative. I will. It's good for me because it helps me screen off. Because otherwise, my alternative would be like a TV is just running and in the background I'm passing out and
Say it,
waking up in the
Neeraj.
middle.
Say it. You use podcasts to fall off to sleep. Say it.
Hey man, no, it's about like sending subliminal messages to my brain while I'm just like drifting off. It's like
Okay.
somewhere in the middle.
I won't ask you to name which podcasts these are. What I've been interested in understanding is that the Indian podcast market seems to be slightly all over the place, and it hasn't really formed into one particular kind of entertainment product.
India is still finding its way, which is good. I mean, like with everything, I think we'll have a surge of it suddenly. Like right now, we see a lot of YouTube and a lot of like even like gaming streams and all becoming big.
Yeah.
I think podcasts will also eventually get there, is my feeling about this. And
Why do you think so?
Just looking at other markets,
Okay.
like just like seeing how podcast content has become a big thing even in the United States, etc. Like if you
Yeah.
remember, if you had any kind of Apple product ever, even like those old shuffles,
Yeah.
Apple Podcasts has existed forever.
I know.
But you're only hearing about it now, right? And
Yeah.
and that's the beauty of it. I think it's something that catches on slowly. And just even look at like the Indian, like you spoke about the Indian market, right? Like I think we're at a nascent stage. Like very simply put, to share some insight with you guys, each episode on YouTube gets more views than all other podcasting apps combined.
Yeah.
Even though it's meant to be an audio podcast, but some people are consuming it more on a video app. So I find that super interesting.
It's a slight peeve of mine that people don't think about podcasts when they think about listening to something. When you want to listen to something, it's always music. But I think it's about training the audience's ear in some sense, that podcasts are also one form of entertainment that is regularly consumed, and I think that will happen over time.
So many of my friends who are listening to this have been like, bro, it's because it's yours, I'm listening to it.
Yeah.
Yours is the only and the first podcast I'm listening to.
Exactly.
And I'm just like, damn, there's so much good content out there. And like, people are probably missing out. So maybe we'll see a surge in this eventually.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
It also makes me think actually that there are so many interesting people that I know who'd be great at making a podcast and bringing their thoughts out, and they're just completely uninitiated to this entire ecosystem.
Especially with podcasts, especially if you have your own channel, you can create such a niche of those special skills you have. And mind you, everyone has some special skill or the other, is my belief. And there's so much you can do just by putting like regular episodes out there, which for you might seem like, oh, this is like the most obvious thing in the world. But you know what? There are people out there who are trying to learn that thing which is the most obvious thing in the world for you. And that's the beauty of it.
Exactly.
To me, podcasts are the least effort and time consuming way to do that. Like compared to say a video or something. I'm not saying it's no effort, but it is less because, there are so many articles out there that say, get the best equipment, get the best mics, get the, get like a proper sound guy and like, do your production and take your time, just make an Instagram channel, this and that. Osho, would you like to tell our listeners where we're recording this episode and all our episodes previously?
We have recorded each and every episode of ours inside a car. A car with no AC, nothing, because we want absolute silence in a really shady lane somewhere in Mumbai.
And the beauty of it is it's fun in its own way, because literally every time someone noisy passes by or a car passes by, we have to like literally hit pause or like stop ourselves and then re-edit everything. So it's funny, and we're not using a mic where and I know that some people who like some of our keen listeners have been like, you guys need a mic. We understand that and we do hope to invest in that, but these things cost money. And our message through this whole tale is that, you know what? I think the most important thing is for you to start.
Exactly.
If you have something to say, just start. The equipment, all the other fancy stuff will come along.
Yeah, and whoever's going to be listening to this episode is also probably like a guinea pig of our content. I mean, it's basically...
Wow.
It's basically to get feedback and get better so that when the world at large discovers us, we're a better product.
Yeah, and talking about that, I think this is where feedback mechanisms come in. And this is where you, the listener, becomes like a huge huge part of this podcasting thing. You've heard every YouTube creator, every podcaster say, hey, please subscribe, like, comment, share. And I've been there. I have hated on it, saying, yaar, ye skip karo. Let's skip this. Let's move on to the next thing because this is just irritating. But it's important.
Yeah, we think that even if you tell that one person or two people around you to check us out, that's going to give us something valuable in terms of feedback, where we'll hear something about ourselves, some criticism about ourselves, which we haven't factored in yet, which we should probably use to mold our podcast in a better way. And I think that's something which we're really eager to hear from you guys.
Absolutely. And like literally use any means to get in touch with us, right?
Yeah.
We've included all our social handles down here. If you don't want to do it personally, I understand that. You can leave a comment. You can leave even a voice comment is what we've heard on Anchor, which is one of our platforms we're present on. And yeah, please be anonymous, be upfront. We like it all. Please reach out to us. I think we're fairly accessible. So do not hesitate and feel free to let us know.
Yep. That's a wrap for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening to episode 5 of our podcast, and you've stuck with us for so long, and I hope the tribe grows.